All right, so today we're going to be going through file uploads. Before we actually get started, I'm just going to clarify. I've had a cold the last week or so if I'm sniffling a little bit and it bothers you, just mute the video and go read. I've got all the same stuff on my website, and I wouldn't blame you if you don't want to hear me sniffling every 20 or so seconds. But that's the price that we've got to pay because I didn't wash my hands probably. But without any further ado, let's just go ahead and start talking about our file uploads. So first, as always, we're going to talk about what file uploads actually are, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but again, we got to go through it. So these are usually just when a web application has some kind of functionality for a user uploaded file, and if it's vulnerable, it's just because it's not validating some attributes of that user uploaded file. So that could be the file's name, the type of file that it is, the contents of it, the size of the file. It's kind of, very, syntax related or context related, I should say, but that's most of what is going to differentiate if it's vulnerable or if it's considered vulnerable. The impact, likewise, kind of depends on what you're able to do. So, if you are uploading a PHP file, so the type of the file and the contents of it aren't being sanitized properly for whatever reason, you might be able to get remote code execution on a web application, which is pretty bad because then you can do whatever you want with that the server that the web app is hosted on. So if that's like an Amazon EC2 instance, or if it's somebody's home computer, that could be pretty devastating. So just keep that in mind, that's how severe it could be. It could also be something like overwriting system files. If you can freely manipulate the name and the location of the file and the web application doesn't verify what you're typing is allowed. So, I could overwrite the htaccess file, and that could cause some problems, or I could maybe overwrite like an image file and deface your website. That could be pretty bad. And then if you're not limiting like the size of a file, I could potentially cause a denial of service, right? Because I could fill up all the space that you've got allocated to fill on your website. So if you're hosting like a web server on an EC2 instance for Amazon, and you've got an S3 bucket that stores all of your images, but you're not sanitizing it, I might be able to fill up that S3 bucket, and it could cost you a lot of money if it's one of those, elastic things. But it could also just cause a denial of service if you're running it on your own infrastructure. So just things to keep in mind as we're moving forward. But let's talk about, how these vulnerabilities actually get there. You won't really find these a lot. At least not in the sense that there will be no protections, right? You're never going to, I shouldn't say never, but you will probably not find a lot of websites that have zero protections on what kind of file you're actually allowed to upload, or, the size of it or the data of it. It's probably not the case just because developers tend to be aware of those things. Things that you might find that are a little bit more common would be, maybe developers are blacklisting, maybe they had a run-in in the past with a bad PHP web shell. And they, said, no more of this, I'm blacklisting PHP. Problem with blacklisting, and we'll talk about this in more details, it's kind of hard to be comprehensive when you're doing blacklisting, and if that's all you're doing. The other thing we will talk about is verifying or using easy to manipulate characteristics or parameters to verify what's being uploaded. So, if you're uploading a file and they're trusting the file extension in the post request that you're sending, you can just change that depending on how that, the web application is checking. And we'll talk about that in more detail, especially as we get into the labs. But just keep in mind that, some of the most robust protections can be inconsistently applied on an application and could lead to some kind of exploitation. So even though they sanitize in one spot, they might not sanitize everywhere. So just, keep it around in your head while we go through. We'll talk a little bit about just how web servers handle static files and how some of the files we're going to be uploading will get handled. So most websites, at least the older ones you'll notice, have to do with static sites. So, you might have an index page that points to a document page, whatever. This picture is kind of meant to help represent that. But static, contents are basically just that. Now, applications now are a lot more dynamic. They have a lot more moving parts, but, there's still images and videos and executables like a PHP script that's still pretty static, or, static/executable for the most part. So we'll talk about just how web applications tend to handle those. One of them is, if your files are non-executable, so this first example here being static, if your file is non-executable, it's just an image or an HTML file or something, if you're allowed to upload it, the web server is probably just going to reply by sending you the contents. When you say, get this image, it's probably just going to give you the data that comprise the image. If you're uploading an executable, like a PHP file or an ASPX file or something, and the web server is configured to handle files of that type, it'll probably run that script first. So if it's like a PHP form or something, and then send a response based on whatever got executed when you call out that PHP script based on the arguments you supply it. And we'll talk about that a little bit more on the next slide. And then, if you upload an executable and the web server is not configured to run it, then you're probably just going to see some kind of errors. But some cases you'll see, like verbose error messages that you probably shouldn't be looking at, which is, useful for attackers in some contexts. Let's just go on. We'll start talking about the exploitation. This is split into two parts, but basically, when we're exploiting unrestricted file uploads, there's a few different types. You'll notice I'm going to say the word web shell a lot. When I say web shell, I'm mostly just talking about our ability to execute commands or perform, like remote code execution or file read on a web application by uploading a malicious file. So right down here in the bottom left is an example of a basic PHP web shell. So if I upload a PHP file that contains this one-liner, all it's going to do is echo out the system command based on CMD, which is the parameter that's going to be in our URL. So when you actually want to send a GET request to that uploaded file, you would just say CMD equals ID, and then it might return the output of the ID command for the system. We'll see this in practice when we actually go through some of our labs, but I just figured might as well get us ready here. That being said, let's talk about some of these different ones. File execution would be, if I'm allowed to upload a file and the web server is configured to execute it, then that could be a problem. Flawed type validation, basically, I kind of brushed on this earlier, but if these highlighted parameters here are things that I can control, and this is all that your web server is using to verify that what I sent is actually a cat picture that's a JPEG, those are things I can manipulate, and I could upload something that's just pretending to be a cat picture. There's also, insufficient blacklisting, which I talked about, which is just if you're, not including every possible scenario, like there could be a PHP 5, there could be an SHTML. There's a whole lot of different files that could be there. So that's just something to keep in mind when we continue moving forward. The next thing about exploitation that we'll talk about is obfuscating file extensions. So let's say you're uploading a file to a website and it says, oh, you can't upload JPEG images, or you can only upload JPEGs, but you want to upload this PNG or something like that. I don't know. You might be able to do, or if we're going to upload a PHP in this example, just because that's what I've got thrown up here, you might be able to just do some of these tricks to mess with how it actually gets parsed when the application is trying to clean it up or verify what's going on. So you might be able to have multiple extensions and do it that way. You might be able to just add a dot at the end and see if that messes with it. You could URL encode the dot character and see if that screws it up, or maybe you could put a null byte between those two. There's tons of ways you could do this. These are just a couple. So when you're actually going out and doing your tests, definitely experiment a lot with these different obfuscations of file extensions if you can verify that that's what they're using. It's just the file extension and not the content of the file. And moving along with that, flawed file content validation, as it sounds, certain files have like signatures at the top or are indicative of things. Like if I'm uploading a spreadsheet, a CSV, comma separated values, the data should be a string or a number or something like that with a comma and then another item, and it should be an equal number per line. So that's something you might think about. Or JPEGs will have certain encoded bytes in a certain fashion, which we'll see later on. But the issue with that is there's actually plenty of tools that you can use to fabricate some of the content validation stuff. EXIF tool is a really popular one. And you can use that to get a lot of files to appear to be an image. And then race conditions. This isn't really so much of an issue with file uploads themselves, just more how they're implemented. The next video that we're going to be putting out is about race conditions, so stay tuned for that, but because they're actually really interesting, I think. But race conditions, like let's say you've got a website and you upload the file and then you to your file system, and then you run some, I don't know, like malware scanner on it or something. And then based on whether or not it passes, you either choose to delete it or keep it. The thing is, even if that, operation is, 300 milliseconds, if you're fast enough, you could upload the application or upload the file and execute it or call it or something, and still be able to get your money's worth. And that's just because you have this race window that you're able to access something before that change is applied. So it's just another thing to keep in mind, that if you're uploading files, you try to do the validation before you actually put it on the file system, or make sure that if you are uploading it to a temporary location, that it's properly sandboxed and outside of control of, the application or the users. But let's just move on to our labs. These are going to be the bulk of the video just because they take a little bit longer, and I'll keep explaining as we continue. But we're going through two machines. One is Perspective. It's an insane hack-the-box machine. And then the next one is going to be Magic, which is a medium machine. We're not going to be going through the whole machine as per usual. Goodness, I can't speak today. And we're just going to be talking about, the file upload and relevant topics that show themselves in these machines. So we'll do that, and then I'll come back here and just talk about prevention strategies. All right, so we're back here with the first of the two labs. The machine is called Perspective on Hack the Box. I think I might have said Previs in the recording, not sure, but I was lying. It's called Perspective. And, I haven't really rehearsed this, so we're just going to try and wing it and see what happens. Hopefully things work out, and hopefully I remember everything. But I remember the vulnerability here is when you create a new product, you can upload images. So I'm just going to go to my folder for this. I've got this cat picture that we're going to be using. And we're just going to put test details in here. Let's say it's $11, and we're going to call it a belt. I'm going to go to Foxy Proxy and make sure that it's getting tunneled through burp. Make sure that intercept is turned on here. Go ahead and submit it. And I'll send this to the repeater so we can take a closer look. Let me stretch this out. So you can see it's sending this post request to products/new product. And it gives us, a cookie that's worth looking at. It sets our content type to multi-part form data. You can see there's an event target, view state, view stat generator. Here's our cat picture.jpg. You can see it declares the file name, some other name for this section of the form data. The content type right here is also declared as a JPEG. And then you can actually see, down here, like all these contents, right? This long strip of bits and bytes and stuff are what make up the image. I probably should have chose like a smaller file, but it's fine because we're going to delete a bunch of this anyway. And you'll see what I'm talking about. But, we can try, let's just try and see if, first I'm going to get rid of a bunch of this because we don't need all of it. It's fine if we just have like, maybe I shouldn't get rid of that much. Here's what we'll do. We'll get rid of like the first, we'll go to here. We'll delete everything below it. Just so we don't have as much. Object moved. Okay, we'll follow the redirection. Render. Doesn't do anything for us. Where to bring it? Maybe. Let's just go look at the website again. I'll turn off my proxy. And we'll just, refresh this new product page. Oh, okay. So you can see it here because I cut it off, right? You can only see, oddly enough, the very tip top of this image, but it did upload successfully. And you can even see right here that it actually assigns like a file name. This looks like it might be a timestamp, might not be. It's kind of hard for me to tell just because I'm not that observant of those kind of things. But at least we're verifying that it's uploaded to something like this. And what I want to do is see if, we can curl it, but binary output. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So let's see if we can just change this or swap this out for some just text data. So we'll get rid of this, or actually we'll leave that there, or let's just copy this over. And we're just going to get rid of this and say like, hello, and we'll see if it lets us upload this as text. Doesn't look like that worked. Why did it give us a 200? Weird. Let's try. Maybe I should keep just some of this here. Maybe I can just put a little bit of that above. No. I wonder why it's giving me trouble. Name. Oh, I forgot. I have to change the name each time. Okay. That's why I should have probably practiced. Let's just call this cat picture 1. Name already exists. What? Oh, wait. Is it talking about... Oh, it's this name. Okay. Product name 1. There we go. Okay. So now here's that new one that we just uploaded, I think. Can't be displayed because it contains errors. Let's see if we can curl it. Oops. Binary output. Okay, and that's fine because we know that there is binary output. Let's get rid of this part. Let's change the name to 2. And we'll send it. Go back here, refresh. Okay, open this image. I mean, you'll notice, right? It's not getting displayed because for whatever reason we messed up the binary so bad that it's just not going to work. And it returns our text, which by itself isn't crazy. But what that does kind of tell us is that at the very least, right, it's not checking the contents of the file that much. It's really just checking if that file extension is there. But at the same time, it doesn't seem to actually render anything unless we have at least some amount of legitimate data in there. So the application has some kind of restrictions on what it's able to render, because these other ones, like this one, had some complete data in it, but it, a very small amount. They both got uploaded as JPEGs, but they're not actually being interpreted correctly. So what we can try to do, I guess, is we can try and see what kind of file names we can upload. I mean, we saw that, right, like, let me just do 3. I think, yeah, I'll just try to Google like let's see if I can find the one-liner that I had earlier. Single line script gain shell. That seems like a lot of details. Yeah, that's not what I want. Oh, okay, I'm just going to go to my notes on the other monitor. Give me just a second to find this. Here it is. Okay, and I'm just going to throw it in my terminal. All right. Oh, yeah, I know, but it's fine. It's there. Here's the web shell that we're going to be using. It's just PHP, echo the system command, whatever we pass through at CMD. Talked about it a little bit earlier, but we're going to see it in action here, hopefully. We already set the new production name to prod3. Cool. Let's change this to just be like catpicture.php, and we'll change this to application.php maybe, and we'll swap this out for some actual PHP code. Maybe that'll work. We'll send it. Gives us a 202 OK. Oh, it caught us. Only JPEGs are accepted. Okay, maybe we can do php.jpg. It caught us again. Okay, let's, or wait, what am I doing? No wonder, right? Oh, still doesn't work. Okay, let's just try moving it back to image.jpg. Okay, it really wants to figure that out. What if we just do like JPEG dot? It still checks that. Interesting. Let's try, I guess we could use, yeah, we can use the intruder to figure this out, I think. Yeah, I think that's what I did in my notes. Crap, I don't remember what I did, but we'll see if I can find out. Okay, let's see. Okay, what did I just do? Okay, this is fine. I think what we can do is I'm going to send this over to the intruder. We're going to set our payload to be... Oh, do I want to do the... Oh, well, that's also a problem. Wait, no, I want to go back and fix that. Was I really mistyping all of those? I know I did it that one time. Only JPEG. Okay. Was it JPG or JPEG? Was it? Oh, it's JPEG. Oh, goodness. I'm full of errors right now. Oh, okay. That worked. Even though the file extension is like this. Did that work? Yeah, 302 found. Okay. Let me just double check this and see if maybe that's what we were looking for. Oh, okay. So it got rid of the .php, which is not what we wanted it to do. We want it to be able to actually execute that. So that's not good. Anyway, we'll go back to what I was doing with the repeater. So, or my bad, the intruder. We'll send this over. We're going to be looking to change. Let's just see which file extensions are all right. So we'll do, what's it called? Oh yeah, we can add this as our thing. Great explanation. We're going to set this to 4 so that we know that the error that it should be giving us, I think a lot of them are going to be 200s, but I think, let me double check here. Because when we said it was the, if I did like JPEG 1, I send it, and that's the wrong type, it's a different kind of thing. But if I were to do like invalid file extension. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that 200. And for looking for whichever ones, I guess, return a 200. Well, because the name is going to be wrong. It's going to give us that error, but it'll still give us a 200. So I guess we'll have to look at the actual contents of that request once we send it through. Whatever, we'll go ahead and get started with it. So we're selecting JPEG. Let's go to our payloads. Is there one here for file extensions? I don't see it. If it is there, I don't see it. So we're just going to load one. It should be in here. Extensions. Oh, crap. I don't remember which one I used last time. It's probably, it's probably this one. How many's in? Ooh, that's definitely not it. That's way too many. Let's see. It should be, or maybe it's called file extensions. No, it's probably just extension, compressed, most common. Okay, yeah, that looks good. So, okay, so in addition, we see PHP, ASPX, PHP 3, 4, 5, text, SHTML. Okay, that looks a little bit more reliable. Our resource pool, I don't feel like slowing it down because the community edition of Burp Suite is already kind of throttled, so we'll just go ahead and launch it. Yeah. All right, let's see what happens. You'll notice we are getting a lot of 200s, which is fine. We know that both cases are going to be 200s, but if you look at the length, you'll notice they're different. That means the, let me try and make this a little bit easier to see. And you'll notice in the response, I'll render it so it's a little bit easier. You can see like PHP, we already know that's an invalid file extension. But if we look at like this one, PHP 3, it's just thrown a fit that the name already exists. So if we sort these by the length, we can basically use that to just draw a line between the ones that are invalid file extension and the ones that are okay to use. So all of these different ones we can upload. All these ones that are this shorter length, because it's just, or not file extension, yeah. All these ones are the shorter length, they're invalid file extension. So that's weird. They're validating PHP 5, but not SHTML or PHP 3, PHP 4. So they're probably using an overly permissive blacklist that's like, oh yeah, we'll block PHP and PHP 5 or something, but not PHP 3 or 4. I don't know. A little confusing, but nonetheless, now that we got that figured out, we know what kind of file extension we can include. So let's just upload, I think we'll use SHTML just because that will probably work. So let me go back to our repeater. And we're going to change our file type to SHTML. And I wonder, image JPEG should probably still work. Let's see here. We'll go ahead and press send. Ooh, I forgot about that. Name is going to already exist. Let's do name 4. Name 5. 5 is probably okay. Cool. That worked. Let's see what it looks like. Open image and new tab. Okay, there's nothing here. The page source has what we want, but obviously it's not configured to execute PHP because it's HTML. And I don't even think that this site is actually configured to execute PHP. Not 100%, but I think if we actually just try it here. Whoops, that's the... I'll go ahead and close this just because I've got my notes, so we're okay. We'll go ahead and change this to, I think, PHP 3... Yeah, PHP 3 and PHP 4 weren't blocked. Let's rename it to 6. Go ahead and send this one. there is, oh, where's number 6? There it is. And you'll notice it gives us, file or directory not found. So it probably just doesn't want us to go here. We can do, cmd equals ID, but either way, it must be doing some kind of sanitization of PHP files, but it didn't for the SHTML. So we can just go ahead and we'll rename this to 7. We'll make it an SHTML file. And if we want to read an important file on the web server, web.config might be the one we're looking for. So let's just throw like, I don't know. Or we'll just say, and then down here, let me see, I think it's include file is, I'll try just doing, because maybe file config is in the path, who knows? Okay, what's this, prod name 7? Let's try that. There's prod name 7. Okay. Let me view the source maybe. That's not showing me what I want to see. Whatever. Let's try it again, but let's try backing this out a directory, and maybe that'll show us what we want to see. We'll name this prod 8. Send. Brush this. There it is. Let's open the image. Okay, perfect. So now it included all this other data as a part of that response. So in this case, it's information leakage. So this isn't remote code execution or anything. We're just able to read a file we shouldn't be able to read. It's not the juiciest example, but it's an example nonetheless. This is an insane machine, so knowing that, I don't even think I've gotten root on this one, but I remembered that it was confusing and I don't remember it. So, but anyway, there's a lot of information in here that helps you with the next steps of like reversing whatever like encryption they use to make a legitimate admin session token or something like that. I don't remember, but that's how we actually exploited that. So we just kind of enumerated through what protections they had and then eventually figured out where one of the holes was. So now that we've got that, I'm just going to hop off and then set up the magic machine and we'll be right back. All right, so we're here. I've gone ahead and started the hack the box machine called Magic. You can see it looks like it lets you upload pictures. I don't know how many of these are supposed to be here because it's a retired instance and other people can play it at the same time, I think, but it's whatever. We'll go ahead and go to the login, and oh, this is kind of a pop quiz moment from the SQL injection thing. Don't mind the history that's saved there in my browser. We can oh my goodness, I can't talk. This login form is vulnerable to, or the login function of the site is vulnerable to SQL injection. So let's just go ahead and try some, or maybe, I'll give you a couple seconds to think about how you might try to, or what payload you might use, or you could just Google it. You'll find it pretty quick, but we can just try, I think it's, oh, how embarrassing. It's right there. I have the pluses there because it's like URL encoded or something, but I'll do it for both and see if that works. Oh, yep. Okay. It worked fine. And we've got a session ID. Okay. But it was just, I'll just type it out here. Or 1 = 1. I think, yeah. And then the comment syntax. So break the statement and say or true, and then comment out the rest, and then we're good to go. But anyway, back to the topic at hand, which is malicious file uploads. So let's go ahead and map out what it looks like when we upload a proper file. I'm going to upload the catpicture.jpg that we just used last time. Make sure that intercept is on, my proxy is on. Upload, is that working? Upload image. Maybe I got to zoom out. Oh yeah, I guess that was the issue. Okay. Let me just throw this. Did I already move it to my repeater? Looks like it. But kind of same thing. We have the multi-part data stuff, the file name, the name, image, image JPEG. And if I scroll down, we see like the content disposition. Again, I'm going to do that same thing where I just delete a big chunk of this data just so it's kind of easier for us to work with. I'll just delete down to that segment. We'll send this across. Says it was all right. What does that look like? Says it's been uploaded. Okay. What does that look like back on the site? Does anything change, I wonder? Can we access it? Is this it? Oh yeah, this is our picture. Okay, cool. Can I like open this in another tab? Oh, cool, cool. Okay, so now we can see the path it was uploaded to, which was images uploads catpicture.jpg. So it looks like the name is parsed in just fine, so that's good. But we'll just see what kind of file names we can upload. Let's see. Let me go back to Burp Suite. First, let's just see if we can do like, I'm gonna copy this in the repeater just so we have a few extras. Get rid of all this. Let's say hello and send it. Again, did that work? Welcome admin. What? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, did my session time out? What? No, that doesn't make any sense. Select the image to upload. Send. Ooh, that's not as awesome. Okay, well, maybe it's doing some kind of protection there. Maybe it does actually need to have some image data in there. Let me just press the back. Oh, the back button's not going to work here. Let me just grab, like, this thing right here. And we'll just throw this, like, there. Boom. Render. It doesn't work either. Let's grab just all of this, maybe. Or just some of it. Let's try that. Ah, crap. Maybe my session is messed up. Oh, but it still lets me upload stuff. That's weird. Very strange. Maybe I just need like a certain amount of image data for this to work, because this little amount worked fine. Let's just try using that same amount with this string at the end. What on earth? Can I send this in twice? What? Come on. Let's try naming it cat picture 1. Maybe that'll fix it. Am I crazy? Or, oh, wait a minute. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Let me do. Huh. I think it's really hard to make out, but I think I can actually see. No, I'm actually kidding. I thought I could see this little text there just in black. That wasn't true. I just couldn't see anything there. That being said, it is kind of confusing though that request is working, but this one isn't. It must be doing something to do with the actual data that's being sent. Maybe it doesn't like the hello that's being sent here. But that worked just fine. Okay. It's a little more confusing. Whatever. We'll just leave that string data there. Let's try replacing this with like PHP. It doesn't give us an error message, but it doesn't let us upload it. Let's try php.jpg. Okay, that lets us upload it. No problem. Let's go ahead and see if we can access it. Let me zoom out a little bit on this page so it's not as tricky. Was it uploaded with that same name? catpicture.php.jpg. Okay. .php. Okay. Oh, we can see our string data right here. It looks like something's happening. Exif, that's weird. I don't think that's in our data. Whoops. Or no, that is right there. Okay, well, let's try and see if we can just throw like a PHP one-liner in there. So let me, again, run back over to my notes and grab that string that we tried to use last time. That one-liner here. I don't think, I hope this works, but I mean, we'll try it. So we'll send it, and then we'll just refresh this page. It went away completely. Not as awesome as I thought this was going to go. Okay, let's see if maybe we can get a shell back some other way. Maybe, what else could we do? I'm looking at my notes on the right just because I know I forgot. Maybe it just doesn't like that this is at the end. What if we like sandwich it between more data? Because that time it uploaded correctly, but it didn't render the way I wanted it to. What if we, you know what? Let me just, let's do it the way we just did. But let's just try and just parse something in. Oh, how about it? Something interesting is it like repeating this twice? UID equals 33, UID equals 33. It's repeating it like multiple times. Let's just try like ls maybe. Okay, so we can see all the pictures. Let's try. Okay, that didn't work. Putting spaces, it really doesn't seem to like. Let's try plus. Oh, okay. We might have to re-upload this. Obviously, like, we don't just want to do file upload for both of these. Okay, it does work like that. So let's just do .. as much as we want. Bin, boot, swat, root, stuff like that. Go to home. We can see there's a user here. Let's just try and get ourselves a, like, I think we can get ourselves a web shell from this. I don't remember how. Let me see if I can do revshells.com, and I'm just gonna, I still have the perspective folder open, but let's do, let's see if we can get a reverse shell back. So my IP address right now is 10.10.14.11. Let's listen on 13.37. We'll do a bash one-liner, and then I think we can just do like, let's just make sure that ls is still working because I don't want it to bug out. Okay, cool. Let's do bash command. We'll copy and paste that in. Maybe that'll work. It's listening, but nothing came back. Maybe I'm messing up how this command is supposed to be run in bash. I feel like that's right. Maybe I gotta URL encode these and symbols. I wish I could do that just from the from here. We're just gonna use Google to our advantage here this time. Let's look around. URL encoding for space is %20. Okay. Wait, I'm looking for the and symbol. Come on. %26. Okay, maybe we can URL encode the and or the less thans. %26. The reason I choose the and over something else is because I think it might be getting confused for like URL parameters or query strings or something. That's more promising. Oh, look at that. We got a shell and we can navigate. Let me just exit this so this one's a little bit more readable. All right, that's pretty sweet. We could try doing like the thing in the home directory is like this Theseus guy, or we could do like ls, and we can see that the user flag is in there, but we can't read it. I'll leave that to you guys just because it's like, I don't really think it's not that, I don't remember it being that difficult to get into Theseus's directory, but I remember it was like something weird. So I'll just leave it to you guys, but that's, you know, how you can get a web shell. And in this case, it's not really much of a, it was a web shell and then we just turned it into a reverse shell because we got lazy and didn't want to do everything through the URL. And obviously there's better PHP web shells we could have used. But that was just the example I figured suited, you know, what we went through best. So that's the last lab of the two. So we're just going to jump back into it with our prevention strategies, and then we can send you on your way. Okay, so now that we've, you know, gone through the labs, we'll go ahead and talk about prevention. what you're going to want to do when you're, making these applications that are supposed to be a little bit more resilient, make sure that you're checking your file extensions against whitelists instead of blacklists, just because it's really easy to make a permissive blacklist, as we saw. You also want to make sure that your file names don't have substrings that could be interpreted wrong. So make sure that you're not accepting like, .. in your file name parameters, because that could lead to writing to the wrong directory. Make sure that you're renaming uploaded files so that I can't, rewrite over existing file system things. Try not to upload files to the actual file system of your server. Make sure you're sandboxing them correctly and just keeping them out of the user's reach. And then also, as much as you can, try to just use some kind of, framework that's accepted. There's plenty of information on like the Open Web Application Security Project website, and there's a couple other ones too. I mean, I'm sure there's tons of resources you could use to help you make this, and there's plenty of frameworks you could build your application around that have those safeguards built in place for you. But that's all we've really got for today. It should be a super long video, but it's, hopefully they're going to start getting longer as we continue to the more complicated topics. But this is just the start of that kind of wave of videos. But until next time, that's what we got for today. So thanks for tuning in.